This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carinante.
Welcome on into the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib for one day only, not alongside Thomas Carinante, hitting you with a miniature update to end your week so that we don't leave your content feed barren. But trust me, I will not take up too much of your time, and neither will the New York Yankees, because as you know, we're still locked out. Ain't nothing changing there. The MLB players are waiting for a proposal that makes some sense from the owners. The owners have no intention of giving them one. So for now, we are in as stalemate as we've ever been. So we've got to talk about players on other teams or players who haven't signed yet and are just floating. But thanks for the content. We're going to be talking about Carlos Correa switching his agent real quick, just to let you all know that that's something that, in case you are a Yankee fan who is considering Correa, maybe take him off your plate even further than he already was. Also, Boston Red Sox world champions taking undeserved shots at Gerrit Cole. We're going to take that one to task. And Freddie Freeman. Are the Yankees really the number 2 team in the chase? It's worth at least putting on your radar. Folks, make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review along with a mailbag question. We'll be more than happy to answer it. But if you leave it today or tomorrow even, maybe it might just be me answering it. It's not a we situation. It's just a one guy. It's just a one guy doing stuff, answering questions. So let's talk about Carlos Correa first. Again, I don't want to keep you folks here too long, and I don't want to be on camera too long by myself. I'm just being honest with you. I mean, who wants to just hear me? Do you want me to just leave this on for like an hour or two? Would you like to see me descend into madness? Because that might be more entertaining. That might be more interesting for all of y'all. It would be terrifying for me. So I'm gonna stick this to short pod. Let's talk about Carlos Correa, who can't help but make headlines during this locked-out period. He's the highest profile name yet to switch sides. Max Scherzer, unsurprisingly, signed before the lockout was even installed because he's big into the Players Association. He wants to, set the tone for the rest of his compatriots. He wants to get as big a deal as he possibly can. So it's not a shocker that he finalized something with the Mets before everything shut down and before we eventually get back to normal. But Carlos Correa remains on the market. Early indications where he would definitely beat Corey Seager's $325 million. But that was before we knew Seager's total. It was just sort of assumed that Correa would go 1, Seager would go 2. But then Seager blew us away in a quiet market with $325 million for 10 years. And it was kind of like, can any team afford to make Carlos Correa their centerpiece right now at that rate? Because the Texas Rangers are the Texas Rangers. They walked into the offseason saying, we're going to get loud, we are going to be annoying, and we are not even close to contention, so we need stars. So they got Corey Seager for $325 million. And they got Marcus Semien, too. They knocked off 2/5 of the shortstop market without Francisco Lindor. Baez went elsewhere. That leaves the Yankees to look at Carlos Correa and look at Trevor Story and say, are we really going to do this? Are we really going to let a whole offseason go by without adding a shortstop of any kind or a talented shortstop in the name of these prospects who we believe in? But again, nobody's close. You're not hearing it. You're hearing everybody extol the virtues of Anthony Volpe, but you're not hearing anybody say Anthony Volpe should start opening day. Nobody thinks that. If you really believe in him, it might be interesting for you to do that, but nobody's saying that. Even the Yankees brass, who's made it incredibly clear they are Anthony Volpe believers, no one's telling you, hey, he'll come to camp with a legit chance. No one is saying that. So that's obviously not true. Carlos Correa, the question was, is he going to see a financial backslide at all? Somebody theorized this week, we talked about it on the last episode, that maybe Correa becomes a $200 million player, and it's a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal, and it falls into the Yankees' range unexpectedly. Now, there were plenty of problems with that before you factor anything else in. If he loses that much money and it becomes if he gets a contract the size of Javier Baez's deal or just exceeding it, why wouldn't the Astros just pay that? That's problem number one. But problem number two is, in what world does that even occur? Clearly the market was there for $325 million for Seager. The concerns about Correa are just some nebulous back injury stuff, but he's a better player at this point in time, and he's got more pedigree. And, for Seager, it's just that one postseason run. It's 2020, which is why people say Seager is a postseason legend. In reality, Correa has done more in the postseason more consistently than Corey Seager has. Clearly, Carlos Correa is not willing to sacrifice that money just yet. And even when we thought he might, we were saying Yankee fans do not get too excited. It's unlikely to happen. And if it does, I don't think the Yankees are looking that way anyway. Now, Carlos Correa has signed Scott Boras as his representative. First of all, congratulations. Cha-ching. Job well done. Mission accomplished. You got your guy, and so now you're going to get your cash, right? That's how it's a flow chart. It's logical. So now not only is Carlos Correa not going to fall into the $200 million range, which again, we laughed at on Tuesday on the last show. It was never going to happen. It's not going to happen now. Wasn't going to happen then. Now he's going to beat Corey Seager. He's getting over 325. And he's probably going to beat Francisco Lindor too at 341. Because what Scott Boras does is set records. Scott Boras is here to set financial marks for the rest of the league. For some reason, it doesn't trickle down as often as it should. The Boras clients get what's coming to them at the top of the market, and it doesn't necessarily raise the floor for a lot of the marginal pitching free agents and offensive free agents. For example, when Correa signs for $338 million or whatever it is, it's probably not going to bring Trevor Story over 200 mil. He's probably still going to be settling. I don't know that for a fact, but I don't, there's no discernible reason why after Correa, it's also going to buoy Story, but Correa wants what's his. He switched to Scott Boras, and that's a be-all, end-all, folks. Scott Boras does not go home with his tail between his legs. Scott Boras does not go home offering a significant discount to the players he agrees to rep. And Scott Boras certainly does not swing and miss after adjusting in midstream to bring on new talent. Correa didn't open the offseason as a Boras client, but he is one now. And in case you were thinking maybe this is the first and only time where Scott Boras miscalculates the market, maybe Scott Boras has no idea how to deal with a post-lockout Major League Baseball. The two parties agreed mutually to come together this late in the game for a reason. Carlos Correa will not be a New York Yankee unless the New York Yankees want to go 10 years and $350 million for Carlos Correa. Now, who is going to sign him? The Dodgers have money all the time and no restrictions, and they could use middle infield talent just like the Yankees can because Corey Seager's gone. People were talking about the Tigers. They're not going there. That's why they signed Javier Baez. The Cubs are in the mix. The Cubs are in the market, and the Cubs have promised they'd spend, but they're pretty far away from contention right now, and they let their whole team go at the last deadline. The Washington Nationals have a lot of Scott Boras clients on the roster. We're talking about this week. They've got Steven Strasburg, Boras and the Nats, and Patrick Corbin. They've all dealt with each other multiple times over. So maybe that's a strange fit. Maybe it's an unexpected fit. I don't know. I'm just here to tell you that it's not going to be the New York Yankees because Carlos Correa drew a line in the sand this week between podcasts. We told you why it wouldn't be the Yankees. Then Correa basically grabbed the mic and was like, hey, I actually have a salient point to make about why I'm not joining the Yankees. And we were like, oh, we're all ears, Carlos. Let us know. What did we miss? And he was like, I hired the angry super agent who makes everybody the most money as my agent out of nowhere all of a sudden. And we were like, great point. Thanks for chiming in. So Scott Boras is the guy. Carlos Correa ain't our guy. Let's talk about Freddie Freeman as well, because again, I don't know the validity of all of this. I don't know what you can trust and what you can't trust from the Yankees camp. I do believe the Yankees were probably fairly close at some point this offseason to a Matt Olson trade because it makes all the sense in the world as long as you add a pitcher. That's Matt Olson and pitcher Chris Bassett, Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas in exchange for Oswald Peraza, who remains sort of the other guy on this roster. We're talking up Volpe and we're just talking up Peraza as a guy who exists. But Baseball America named him number 55 in the top 100 prospects. He's a legitimate prospect. The Yankees could roll forward with Volpe at second and Peraza at short if he grades out better defensively. But as of now, he sort of feels like a redundancy, especially with Trey Sweeney on the come up, especially with Roderick Arias now in the Yankee system after the international free agency period open over the weekend. So Peraza, Luis Heel, Austin Wells, a fourth piece for Matt Olson, and a pitcher. It always has sort of felt drawn in the sand and totally acceptable and would definitely revamp the Yankees' outlook right away. But what about if the Yankees were to sign a free agent first baseman instead of trading for Matt Olson? Save your assets for something else. Or you don't feel confident that the shortstops, you don't want to cut bait on either of the shortstops right now. So you just save your assets and spend money alone. Freddie Freeman has always been a pipe dream. It started as a complete pipe dream. Then it became a little more realistic when it became clear he was sort of upset with Atlanta and not ready to commit there because they wouldn't budge on the extra year. Then people started to connect the dots, but always the dots were connected at that point to the Dodgers. Hometown, California kid. Dodgers have no spending restrictions ever. And the Yankees are pursuing trade options for first base. So why would they be the Freeman suitor if the Braves fall offline? Well, this week, ESPN named the Yankees number 2, ahead of the Dodgers, behind the Braves, of course, because you can't usurp the Braves. Something's got to really change for the Braves to not be number 1. In the Freeman search, he's their MVP. He's their leader. You finally give him a ring. He delivered a ring to Atlanta last year. You might say that's a farewell swan song. You might say the Braves are prepared to turn it into a farewell swan song with the way they're handling these negotiations. It's going to take 6 years. It's going to take $80 million or more to bring Freddie Freeman home. But I tell you what, we're not going to know anything more about the Braves situation deteriorating until the lockout's over because there's no progress here. Nobody's making moves. Everything is the same old, same old. They can't talk. All we know is Freeman wants an extra year. Braves didn't want to give it to him before the lockout. Now we're almost 2 months into this thing where there's legally no movement. For the Yankees to jump the Dodgers into the number 2 spot, that actually does tell me something. That tells me somebody knows something about the Yankees' financial plans. And somebody knows something about Freeman's preference. Maybe he feels uncomfortable going National League to National League. I don't know. Maybe, the Braves and Dodgers have faced off in the NLCS the last 2 years. Maybe he doesn't want to be a turncoat and go, well, you're going to disrespect me? All right, I'm going right to the team that, we're 1-1 against them. We got a series. They got a series. So now I'm going to go to the Dodgers to try to help them break the tie between, my beloved teammates. I don't know if that's going to be the case. That feels a little uncomfortable. Maybe he just wants to switch leagues, fresh start, come join the New York Yankees. I don't know what happened, but something happened to make the Yankees the number 2. So I'm just putting that out there. This week, someone who knows more than me said the Yankees are now the number 2 team for Freddie Freeman when the market reopens. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Freeman's first call after the lockout is to the Yankees and say, could you just give me that 6th year? Because if you can, we can have a genuine conversation. We can take this off the ESPN Plus feed. We can end the speculation. Just tell me if you're willing to give me that 6 years so I can take it back to Atlanta and see what they say. He's not dumping Atlanta without a callback, but he might be going to the Yankees and saying, can you give me a 6th? Yes or no, and put it on the record. Now, obviously, there's no free agent movement, but thank God for retired player beefing. Now, I do want to address, because the narrative is now pervasive that Gerrit Cole is not what he should be and not what he's cracked up to be in the postseason. And it's spreading overseas. Koji Uehara from the Red Sox 2013 World Series championship team, the closer of that Red Sox team, had Seiya Suzuki on his podcast recently, and it's basically the content that's fueled like several weeks of coverage for us and all speculators. Suzuki, of course, followed the Red Sox on Instagram. It's the only team he follows in the States, and unfollowed them. So Koji sort of prodded him a couple weeks ago on this pod about, aren't you a Red Sox? Can't you just say you're a Red Sox? And Suzuki told the story of why he unfollowed the Red Sox. And it was, he followed them back in the day because he liked to see Xander Bogaerts and Mookie Betts swing. He liked to model his swing after those guys. He unfollowed him because it got weird, because he got in trouble, he said. So we don't know anything more about Suzuki, whether he'll be a Red Sox, whether he's still on the market. But we do know that Koji smack talked the New York Yankees and Gerrit Cole to Suzuki's face, which, again, I did not enjoy. Koji doing his best Red Sox recruiting efforts without being able to say, I want you on the Red Sox. He said, aren't you a Red Sox already? Right, you are, right? And Suzuki was like, come on, please. I can't sleep at night. It's a tough decision. Then he badmouthed Gerrit Cole. He said Gerrit Cole's not what he's cracked up to be in October. He said Gerrit Cole's just not the same guy. Gerrit Cole just not impressive. Koji said Cole just didn't impress him. And here's the thing. Cole didn't impress me either. I didn't like watching Gerrit Cole blow the wild card game after just 2 innings. That was unpleasant to me. I did not enjoy that. Gerrit Cole's wild card game performance was indefensible, but I do want to direct Koji Uehara and anybody listening to the numbers and the stats. People like to say 2 things. People like to say Gerrit Cole can't pitch in October, and people like to say Gerrit Cole isn't the same after the sticky stuff. Boston fans actually were in my mentions about a month ago when I said Gerrit Cole was injured in the wild card game, saying, it's everybody's hurt this time of year. Everybody's hurt this time of year. Absolutely. Everybody is hurt this time of year. Gerrit Cole was injured. And to say he wasn't, I don't know why Boston fans have to redraw a narrative that, not only did we beat Gerrit Cole, but he was at his healthiest ever. He had muscles of steel. Not only was Gerrit Cole in the game feeling fully healthy, but his body was actually jacked up to a level it had never been before, my dude. Gerrit Cole actually said before the game his hamstring felt like a whole new muscle. Yeah. He was saying that to his friends, Boston fans. You beat a hobbled Gerrit Cole, and it's okay. That's what you did, but you did that. He was not feeling his best. The numbers are there. Post sticky stuff, post COVID, Gerrit Cole came back. 5 2/3 innings against the Angels, 2 hits, 9 strikeouts. 6 innings against the Twins, 5 hits, no runs, 6 Ks. 6 innings against the A's, 6 hits, no runs, 9 Ks. 7 innings against the Angels, 4 hits, 1 run, 15 Ks. Comes home, gets hurt. Faces the Blue Jays, leaves with a hamstring issue, gets rocked, can't plant. Comes back from the hamstring injury to finish the season with 5 awful innings in Baltimore, just 1 run, but he looked terrible. 100 whatever pitches in 5 innings against Baltimore. No thank you. 5 2/3 innings, 10 hits, 7 runs against Cleveland, which is the game everybody remembers. 6 innings, 3 runs, 3 walks against Boston, the Devers home run. That was not a model start from Gerrit Cole. 6 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs against Toronto, and then the wild card game disaster. Does that sound like someone who's got regular year-end wear and tear, or is that someone who is blatantly injured? Now, don't pitch if you're too hurt to pitch, and that falls on Gerrit Cole's shoulders too. If he's too hurt to be Gerrit Cole and he doesn't tell anybody and he just bucks up and takes the ball, then yeah, that's a problem. It's also a problem that he struggled at Fenway Park throughout the season, was bad in the wild card game, and his other worst playoff start since 2018 was at Fenway Park as well. ALCS Game 2, 2018. 6 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 earned, 2 walks. Not good. So if Koji Uehara is watching only Red Sox games, then yeah, Gerrit Cole maybe doesn't have it in October, which again is a problem. But Gerrit Cole in October since 2018. 7 innings, 3 hits against Houston in 2018 ALDS Game 2. 7 2/3 innings, 4 hits, no runs to start off the ALDS in Game 2, 2019 against the Rays. I believe that is 15 strikeouts in the game, but let me confirm, folks. Let me confirm for you. Yeah, that's what it is. It's 15 Ks. 2019 Game 5, same deal. Houston, Tampa, 8 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 10 more Ks. 7 shutout innings against the Yankees on the road in Game 3 of the ALCS that year. 5 earned runs and 7 innings against the Nats in the World Series, but he rebounds with 7 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts on the road in Game 5 to take a 3-2 lead in that series. 7 innings, 2 runs, 13 Ks, 6 innings, 3 runs, 8 Ks in the empty stadium playoffs and on short rest, 5 1/3, 1 hit, only 1 earned run, 9 Ks. That was the home run by Austin Meadows that helped tie up Game 5 of the DS. I don't even really want to linger on the closed stadium, no admission games that Gerrit Cole pitched in the postseason, 2018 and 2019. 2018, 1 great start, 1 bad start. At Fenway, 2019, brilliant almost all the way through, 1 bad World Series start, 1 brilliant one to break a 2-2 deadlock. So you tell me, does that sound like an ace? Or does that sound like someone who is terrible in October? And Koji Ohara, sorry, I hate to mention this, you had a 13.50 ERA in the 2011 ALCS with the Texas Rangers. Do you struggle in October too? Or was that just 1 bad series that you later shook off? Keep an eye on Gerrit Cole in 2022 and 2023 and 2024. He's here for a while, and he can pitch in October. Folks, that is it. Make sure to find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Drop us a 5-star review along with a mailbag question. We'll be more than happy to answer it. That's enough Yanks Go Yard for the week. We will rejoin you on Monday live at 2 p.m. Eastern. Both of us will be here. That I can promise you until that ends up not being the case. And then at that point, I won't promise you. And then I'll renege on my promise. But you'll see then what happens next week. Until next time, I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. But you can find our content on yanksgoyard.com or on yanksgoyardfs on Twitter if you want to follow the account and the website directly. Until next time, I hope some more Yankees and Red Sox who are long away from the diamond start beefs with each other. If anybody wants to respond to Koji, that would be great. If Hideki Okajima wants to say that Joey Gallo strikes out too much, I welcome it. If Jonathan Papelbon has any comments on Gleyber Torres' potential for bounce back, bring it. This is the lockout, and it's the offseason, and I'm desperate. So until next time, I'm Adam Weinrib signing off for Thomas Carinante. Enjoy your weekend.